Hello listeners and welcome to the Montel Weekly Podcast. Bring you energy matters in an informal setting. Most of us are still locked down, away from the offices, juggling homeworking, schooling, cooking for the whole family amongst, trying to fit in scheduled work. But I think it's time to start thinking about life after the coronavirus. What does it look like? My name is Richard Sverrisson, and joining me today is Fredrik Bodecker of Bodecker Partners. A warm welcome to you, Fredrik.
Well, thank you.
Fredrik, I was wondering, how has the COVID-19 outbreak affected you so far?
Well, fortunately, I would say less than many of colleagues out there in Europe. Sweden has a little more relaxed attitude, even if there is a lot of restrictions. But it's not rules, and there are no, let's say, police officers hunting us. So I'm working. I'm at the office, but of course, no traveling and quite a lot of meetings over Teams. But compared to others, not so much actually.
Okay, that's good to hear. I think before maybe we move on to the post-COVID-19 world, let's talk about how the pandemic has affected the Nordic market so far. Could you say a few words about, liquidity or prices?
It could be hard to say, well, what is what here? Because before this pandemic really started, we had a steep fall in the Nordic prices, and that was due to the hydrological balance improving so much and so fast. And if we look at the demand, of course, it has gone down, but less than we assumed and absolutely less than compared to France or Italy or Germany. So it has affected prices. Liquidity, yes. I'm not that active out in the market as I used to be, but the signals I get is that on the one hand, most of the traders are working from home, so maybe it shouldn't affect the liquidity that much, but on the other hand, maybe you don't go into the really large positions, and there are, of course, some restrictions from risk managers everywhere there. So liquidity is lower, I would say then.
And how about the PPA market? Has that slowed down at all, do you think?
Yes, that's there are several factors that have slowed that one down. Of course, the low price level and how fast that one came down has affected the discussions. But of course, also a lot of the projects are being delayed and due to the corona. And but I would say probably the price level that needs to be even logically having a low price now in 2020 and let's say a half year or a year out shouldn't affect the 10-year price curve, which is more important for the PPA market. But it does, and that's how it always been, especially in the Nordic market. A little crazy, but that's how it has been.
Absolutely. People are always focused on what's happening now, aren't they? I mean, they're very much coloured by current market dynamics. As you say, it shouldn't affect 10 years out, but it does.
Yeah. And now, as we see for some of the contracts, they are connected to, say, the overall economy or the world economy. So, and we had that, I think it was in 2000, 2003, where everyone was looking at American job figures, the non-farm payroll figures, and that moved the Nordic front power contract, or even the contract 2 years ahead. So I would say quite insane, but that's how it was.
Not really that physically connected, are they? Those two markets, not yet, anyway.
No.
If we start to think about getting back to where we were just a few months ago, what do you expect the recovery to look like, Fredrik?
I wish I could say I believed in this V-shaped recovery, but it seems less and less likely for several reasons. There are, of course, the hydrological balance that we have now in the Nordic market that is still pushing down the prices. But I would say demand destruction. I think that the demand it will take longer time than many people think before demand is coming back. We have changed, a lot of habits are being changed, that we have found out that, it is quite okay to have a meeting over Teams or Zoom or whatever you use. So I think those habits will take some time. And if we go into a recession, of course, that will affect everything, flying and consumption. And so from that point of view, this will take some time. But I've also met a lot of people that are very pessimistic regarding the the hydro balance, and it's going to take so long time to remove that surplus energy we have in the system. And on that side, I'm not that worried because we've seen an extremely wet period, and there will be extremely dry and extremely cold periods coming. So it's that's how it is.
It's quite cyclical.
Yeah, and you tend to draw a straight line. If it's going down, it's going straight down to a warmer place, and if it's going up to heaven. So
exactly. Yeah, for sure. I mean, when you talk about demand, do you mean both industrial demand, household electricity demand, as well as kind of the oil of the wider sort of economy, such as transportation and airlines, etc.?
Yeah, I mean in the wider aspect, that, and then we all, without going too far in the future, I will also say that this move towards electrical vehicles, that's okay. You see, it depends on who you're listening to, but some say, okay, now the EV development will be put on hold. People won't afford to buy those cars, and the other camp says, okay, now it's the time that where everyone will move over to the battery market and then to vehicles with batteries. So it's very hard to say. But on a general scale, definitely demand has been destroyed, and it would take some time to come back.
I think that brings me on to my next question, Fredrik. I mean, I think, do you expect the brakes to come on for the green transition, or do you expect it, could be accelerated by a wish to go to a greener world now? Now's the opportunity. Let's grasp it. I'm
a little positive there that when you look to what the politicians are preparing, it seems like they are just loading up with a lot of money, and since there before the crisis was a drive towards spending on green investments. I think that it will be positive. But due to the recession, I also expect maybe those things, they take out each other. So it will be kind of a muddling through that and instead of a fantastic new green world. As I say, my guess, I guess. I'm also not that very pessimistic on the investments or the green investments, because it is an asset, and it's a real asset that is producing something real, electricity. With all this money being pumped into the systems, I think it's pretty good to have something real and tangible to hang on to.
So you don't think this period of quite a long period of low prices, which are, as you highlighted, were already low before the coronavirus struck, you don't think they're hampering investments in green energy in the Nordic region?
They have hampered it somewhat already when it dropped before the coronavirus, but not holding it to zero. And we had so many different, let's say, dimensions on it that more and more investors that came into the Nordic, they prepare themselves for a merchant market. Let's say in their minds, they are already starting to prepare themselves for low prices and how to handle them. And they had this belief, and I still think they have, that the prices are coming up if you look on a 5, 10 or 15-year time horizon. So let's say the mood before was that, okay, many of the investors wanted to have as little PPA as possible and as short PPA as possible, because the investment cases, they were really dependent on higher prices ahead of time or longer, further out in time. I mean, so maybe now they need a little more security that instead of having a PPA for 45 or 50%, they need to go out and have a PPA for 65%, or 70%, like it used to be earlier.
65-70% below their output, and maybe for a longer period going forward as well. So maybe return back to 10, 15 years seals.
Yes, I think so. That's unfortunately so, because our company, we want to see more, let's say, more exposure and more merchant exposure. So so for us, it's not that perfect.
Okay, so people are sort of with some of the risk, people want to manage their risk in a different way here, and not be exposed so much going forward as a which is in a way quite understandable in this very uncertain environment.
Yeah, but then on the other hand, I also have a strong belief that on the corporate or in the corporate PPAs, that more and more businesses with let's say, with not that much consumption is coming into the corporate PPA arena. We have seen the Googles and the Facebooks and the Alcoas, and now we are seeing smaller and smaller consumers. And once they're over this, let's say, the worst recession here, and I'm pretty sure that they are coming in, and we will see more and more of the corporate PPAs.
Okay, so you expect that to continue to grow once we're out of this this crisis. And which sectors in particular is that, Fredrik, that you think is a growth sector? Once we get some semblance of normality again.
I would say the real estate, the companies that own a lot of real estate.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely an area. We have companies or groups that are into steel, and then I mean more specialty steel and those kind of companies. So not the mining companies because they are already looking at this. There are some areas where and then I also think that okay, maybe this will take another 3-5 years, but the consumers that consume 50, 100 gigawatt hours per year, why shouldn't they go into this market when they see they can get a PPA for, let's say 28, 30 euros? Why should they go to the energy company and buy it for 6 or 7 euros more? That's I think this shift in the mindset is coming. The genie is out of the bottle there. In a way.
What will that do the wholesale market then, Fredrik, do you think?
It will be quite interesting to see how let's say the normal traditional big energy giants are going to handle this. They are being circumvented, or they are rounded here, and I think one reason why it hasn't gone faster is that the contract has been quite complicated. If you look at those PPA contracts that are a couple of years old, there's a lot of pages, and there have been truckloads of lawyers behind them, and I see that they are becoming simpler and simpler. So that's also one reason why it would be easier for those companies just to come in and do a PPA instead of going to Vattenfall or Fortum or E.ON and get a 5-year deal or a 3-year deal.
That sidelining will maybe get more drastic, and then it opens up for, I suppose, companies such as yourself.
Yeah, at least over a period where we see that we can be part of simplifying these agreements and also making it less, let's say, less scary to go into these contracts, because we meet several of these, let's say, medium-sized companies that are really interested in getting into corporate PPAs, and they have the pressure from their own management. They need to go green, but also then they say, okay, we have talked to some of them, and then they come there with all the lawyers and all the contracts and all the risks, and so our role would be to come in and educate them and give them the confidence to do these deals.
We're seeing the emergence of, we expect to see the details of the European Commission's Green Deal fairly soon. I know Sweden's been a very strong proponent of a higher emissions reductions target. I think the Swedish rapporteur for the climate law proposed 65% emissions cut just this week. What does this mean for the PPA market? Do you expect there to be some boost or some kind of coming from the Commission? Or what are your hopes from Brussels? Well, if any.
Yeah. That's probably also connected to that. All these support packages that are being prepared everywhere. In a way, the money that's been discussed before, it looks like pocket money in comparison to all the support packages that are being prepared now. I think it's hard to say. Sweden has also been, let's say, front runners in many of these areas, and there are a lot of support schemes already. To give a short answer, I don't have, let's say, that high hopes on any specific schemes that will help us. And if you look at the wind business in Sweden and Norway and now Finland also, once we're out of this low price situation, it looks like it can walk for itself. It has learned to walk, and now it can really walk for itself. And actually, I would say probably start running in a couple of years.
If we talk more about the energy sector in general, who do you think will be the winners and losers in the post-coronavirus world?
I've done a couple of predictions over the years, and mostly connected to what will happen to traders, since that's I've always been too early. So
okay,
I guess I have to be a little careful this time. I remember several years ago when I thought that the long-term traders or the traders out on the curve, they would be they will kind of be extinct because it will all be about short-term trading and because of the variable wind production and the solar power. And even if the liquidity has gone down quite a lot, that's I was ahead of time there. But I think I will stick to that. That the companies that focus on trading, let's say, several years ahead, I don't think that they will disappear. But with more and more PPAs, with more and more corporate PPAs, that very important demand will disappear. So they will be hit, those that are focusing on let's say, longer term trading and having a business that is dependent on that. And so that is partly the traditional energy companies also, but several of the trading firms, because it's not only it is the liquidity, and the contracts are so long, so much longer than in the short-term trading. So the money involved becomes so much more money. And I would say maybe also the whole business, if we focus just on power, that I think there would be a shift in the mindset that once the companies have started buying PPAs, they stop looking at electricity as something you just need to buy every year and have a new contract, and it's something that prices should fluctuate. It more becomes a part of the investment of the whole company. So if you have a 10-year PPA, it's just like, we built a new machine, and that machine is an investment for 10 or 15 or 20 years. And suddenly they downplay the risks. And unfortunately for the business I've been for 24 years, there would be less demand for exposure management, for risk management.
But there'll still be some exposure on the short-term markets. You'll still need to oil the machine on a daily basis, maybe, or even hourly basis, or has that gone?
Yeah, that was my prediction a couple of years later, that we would come to focus on that. But then suddenly we had artificial intelligence, blockchain solutions, and all that came in. And we are not there, of course. These are a couple of years ahead of time also. But I definitely see that with all the computer power and big data, and that's coming into play now. I wouldn't recommend my daughters to become short-term power traders. That's,
okay,
that's definitely But the big killer for that is not the AI. It's the batteries and storage technology.
Absolutely, you expect that to be massively expanded in the years to come. That could be a winner from this COVID-19 crisis. But do you think, you touched upon working from home, do you think, the more people do this, the more kind of solutions that will emerge that will enable, remote working? Maybe that means more robots, means more machines remotely controlling the machine that you talked about, the machine that is the PPA or optimizing, output from power plants, however small they may be.
Yeah, but that's actually quite interesting also when we've had, if I get your question right, we had the discussion for several years if a trading house or trading department, if everyone needs to sit and come to the office every day. I've been split. On the one hand, several I've seen several really, really good traders being not the most social people in the world, so there wasn't much difference between sitting together and then on the other hand, also I've seen some traders being very hard to have in a room with normal people. So maybe so looking from a trading aspect, I think that we can actually be much more productive in this way. But at the same time, there are a lot of people that definitely need to have the social interaction. And so if you just zoom into that, let's say from a trading aspect, I think that we will see some new ways of organizing trading houses and trading teams, definitely.
Just a final question, Fredrik. You mentioned the low wholesale prices. I'm asking you to stick your neck out here, but how long will it take for them to recover to what we saw maybe 6 months or a year ago?
Yeah, of course, not the easiest question here, and something I would probably have to eat up at the next Montel boat trip somewhere. I think that it could could be faster than many think, because we have this huge hydrological surplus now, 30 terawatt hour or more. But I'm 100% certain that the hydro producers will be forced to spill a lot of that energy by the size of the turbines, so there will not be any energy produced or any electricity produced. So, and after that is spilled, we kind of start again at a surplus of, let's say 15 terawatt hours. And that is much more manageable. A dry period and a cold period, and then we're suddenly down at the 10 terawatt hours that we were before in December, or 10 or 15 terawatt hours. And then the hydro producers are in control again. So from that point of view, I think it can go faster than many people think. But then we must look at what has happened at the same time with the gas market. So it's not only the hydrology. Now we also have a gas market that has plummeted. So if we are down at 19-20 euros per megawatt hour for producing gas now with the front month prices, I think what we have to do is really keep a close look on or close eye on that, because hydropower or hydro surplus, that goes up and down, and we're not going to stay here for 3 or 4 years. We will get out of it. But the gas market now worries me more, because that is going to be the price setter, as I see it, for once the hydro producers are back in control again. So as you could hear, I avoided your question.
very, very well. Almost as tactfully as the previous question, Fredrik. But no.
I have a future in Brussels, maybe. but let me give a very, very wide answer then. I would say 8 to 18 months, then we're back.
Perfect, Fredrik. Well, that's all from the Montel Weekly Podcast this week. Many thanks to you, Fredrik, for joining a very interesting discussion about the post-COVID-19 world. So thank you once again.
Well, thank you, Richard.
And listeners, remember to join our new COVID-19 and energy special, which starts on Monday. Keep up with our stories on Montel News. Follow us on Twitter and LinkedIn. And subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from. Thank you and goodbye.